Hey everyone! I want to tackle a question now that was given to me by a friend who is also a music teacher. And so what we're going to be talking about is the layout of the violin and viola fingerboard and why certain finger positions are natural on one string but they will be sharp on another. So what you're going to need for this video is a printout of this PDF that I'm gonna figure out how to attach somehow. Yeah, I'll figure that out. I also want to show you my teaching violin. This is a violin that has first finger, high second finger, third and fourth finger tapes. So print this out, and what we're gonna do is draw on here where the tapes are located. So you're going to need a highlighter, and we're going to highlight this second row of dots, the fourth, fifth, and seventh row. So what this corresponds to is our first finger tape, high 2, 3, and 4. Now you're like, well, wait a sec, there's a whole bunch of other dots there. So we have all these places that we could put our fingers on the instrument, but they're not the most common, so we only put tapes down usually for the most common. But you can have a low first finger, or a low second finger, or a high third finger. So those are all possible places. In fact, these are all what we call half steps. We've talked about that in previous videos. If you haven't watched all of the stuff on like more half steps and naturals and sharps and flats, stuff like that, please go back and watch those first. It'll make this make a whole lot more sense. Now you're going to need a pencil and preferably a keyboard for reference. Now you might be playing viola or you might be playing violin. Either way, what I'd like you to do is write in your string names above our strings. So I'm going to start on the G, and I'm going to write in the note for every single space. These are all the half steps that we have available to us on the G string. So G, open, no fingers, is just G. But when I put down a low first finger, we go up a half step to G sharp. So please write in G sharp. A half step above G sharp, we go back to A. A half step above A is A sharp. Half step above A sharp is B. Now, remember what I told you before to remember B and C, E and F, because it's just going to be tricky forever until you get used to it. So here's the first place where it might stumble you, is a half step above B is not B sharp. It's C. And then a half step above C is C sharp. A half step above C sharp is D. There we have it. We've got the first string filled out on our chart. Do you notice that G fourth finger is the same note as the next string above? That's a pattern that you're going to see all the way through this. Now, if you would, go ahead and pause the video right now and fill out your remaining strings and then come back and check your work. Go for it. I don't know how to video edit yet, so you're just going to have to sit here with me while I do this. please ignore my weird red puffy hand. Something bit me in the garden. All right. So here we have the finished violin fingerboard. I've filled out every single half step that's possible in first position. And I think this is an incredibly useful tool because it sort of helps you see how there is and is not a pattern to it. It's kind of weird. So like look at your first finger tape all across the strings for just a moment. Do you notice how it's like natural, 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 what? And it would make a whole lot of sense if you could just say like, okay, all of my first fingers on every string will always be sharp or always be natural. But because of where the string starts, where we begin our pattern of half steps, it just doesn't work out that way. Remember how E and F are a half step apart? So F is going to be a low one on the violin, whereas the regular one is going to be an F sharp. And also, if you look at the high second finger across the strings, sharp, 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 And that's just how it works out because of the starting note of each string. But there are other patterns that can be helpful. Like I pointed out, the fourth finger on G is the same as the next string up. The fourth finger here is the same as the next string up. Same deal for the A string. So those are some patterns that could be helpful. But whatever your instrument, I hope you'll take the time to figure this out and get your teacher or somebody to check your work for you because this is a really useful reference to keep with you when you practice. Good luck, everybody.